we are going to move now to the next session. And the next session is moving to the practical side of this. And we have two presentations. The first one is by Sisti Basil from Elico Foundation. Sisti, could you kindly come to the front? Sisti is born and raised in Tanzania, is executive director at Elico Foundation, a local NGO working to solve persistent last-mile energy challenges across Tanzania and beyond. Sisti has over 12 years of experience working with different environmental and renewable energy institutions and companies. He has worked on biomass energy and climate change programs and provided advisory services on renewable energy issues to a wide range of actors. He holds an MSc in environmental management. Let's put our hands together for Sisti. And we are also going to have Samson Mogendi, also from Elico Foundation. Samson is an experienced horticulture farmer and a teacher based in Tanzania's Iringa region, primarily cultivating onions, beans, and tomatoes. So Samson is going to tell us the practicalities of doing all the stuff that we are discussing here. Samson adopted a solar-powered irrigation system 2 years ago with the support of Elico Foundation. He will be sharing his experiences as an end user of pure technology and how it has affected his productivity. So, Sisti, you will start us off by giving us your lessons, the lessons that you have learned in promoting and scaling regenerative agriculture and productive use of energy nexus solutions. You have a presentation. Elko? It's here already? Good. Awesome. Go ahead.
Good morning, and I hope you can hear me. My name is Sisti Basil, as I was introduced, working with Elico Foundation, which is a short form of Energy and Livelihood for Community. It's an NGO working here in Tanzania, both mainland and in Zanzibar. And I wanted to start by telling you a big news that happened yesterday. A colleague of mine called me, said, Sisti, is your car full in terms of fuel? I say no. I say, why? Because in the morning, the price will be having new price. The prices are going up. And yes, today the prices have gone up. And I said, so he asked me, why are you not, filling your car? I say, no, I use the aeroplane methodology. The full the tank, the heavier the car, the more the consumption. So, so I just want to tell you, just like climate change, stuffs are changing every day. And this year also, in July, July was the hottest month in world history. I don't know how many of us know about that. How many of us felt about it? You know, did you kind of sweat so much to verify that? Probably not. But for me, neither. I didn't sweat so much and all that. But I have seen, impacts of climate change, and I've seen them indirectly because my capability of adapting to the changes and all that are a bit higher compared to my friend Simon, who is a farmer in Iringa. So we work with last-mile rural communities to solve their permanent energy challenges and also solve livelihood activities by innovating around health, around agriculture, around cold value chain, depending on what is the persistent problem in that community that you are working on. And our methodology is much simpler. We go to the community, we stay with them, we learn from them, we start with what they have, and then we tell them what we want to do with them. From there, actually, we see it happening. So I was told that I should use only 10 minutes, and I'll try to do that, because we do a lot in these rural communities, And I think after that we can have a discussion on the same. So a bit of context. Out of 29 million hectares of irrigatable land in Tanzania, only 3% have been developed. Developed means, having irrigation channels, either solar or wind powered, whatever means. There's a huge investment now with the government looking at bigger scale. How do we do that, But then we as Eliko, we work with rural communities. And you will see that 83% of all agricultural holdings in Tanzania are run by small-scale older farmers. And out of this percent, only 1.4% of these small-scale farmers use motorized equipment. Now forget about solar, forget about wind. Motorized, if you have a power tiller, you have a small tractor and all that, only 1.4%. And this, are the people who are feeding us. The food we had yesterday, come from this percent. Now, whichever the case, if all goes well, and these people are managing to produce and harvest, you have one big problem, and some colleagues have been talking about here. Post-harvest loss stands at 30 to 40%, for various reasons. Either markets, which is a concept that most people don't talk about. We have people still producing, but the market is very, 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 very low. So some of these factors are the ones which really pushed us to start looking at how do we solve these challenges. So we have been working with rural communities with support from various organizations. In this particular one, we work with Charles Stewart Mott Foundation. So we go to the community, let's say like in Iringa, and then we look at that particular community if it has a source of water, for instance. Like for the bigger picture you are seeing there, I don't know if the pointer works, no? But the top picture is what we call agrocentric mini-grid. So all this mini-grid for rural electrification and all that, but you can create a mini-grid just for agro-related activities. So water pumping, you can do cold value chain at the farm level. You can do water pumping for cattle with the same kind of setup. So we have been working with farmers, like for that one, the one we have there is 6 kilowatt, and it fills a tank of 7,000 per hour, 7,000 per hour. And it's covering an area of 25 to 30 acres of land. And then we have more than 35 farmers working on that particular one. So you can use this model, which is a community-based model, to kind of work upon that. But then you have some other communities, like women and children, women and youth, who do not have opportunity to be on that bigger scale. So we have a newer system, which we call mobile solar water pump, which is definitely a group of 10 or 5 people sharing a pump. Because you do not need to irrigate every day. You irrigate today, tomorrow somebody else irrigate, and that it goes rotation-wise. So, and this has really shown more impact, because we are documenting it to see what are the changes in terms of people being able to grow all over the year, especially during the rain season. And then you can play with it the way you want. So you can do it in on a borehole, for instance. You can, depend on the model, you can do on the size. Like that one, you can also fold and unfold the pumps. And then the business model can also be different, because also as an NGO, we are trying to see what will be the business model. So we don't give these stuffs for free. We give them on a assumed subsidized rate, assuming that what if the government was subsidizing these pumps? So that's something also which we are now learning, and we are working with, of course, SNV. We are working with Tanzania Renewable Energy Association, to push a bit of the government to say, there are a lot of subsidies on agriculture already, on a tractor and all that. On a tractor and all that, but on panel, yes, we have subsidy, but on pump, we do not have any subsidy. because the pump can be used, for various uses. So we are trying to see how then that works. Then we work on the cold value chain. This is a project that we worked with Access to Energy, funded by IKEA, but it was not funded directly to us. So, but we have seen how this can really help, especially the fishing community. In Tanzania, very few people eat dried food. It's not a culture. Maybe it will be because of the impact of climate change. We'll be forced to go there, but people do not really eat dried food. And the other thing is, when we went to people who are growing stuff like tomato and all that, they said, sister, I want to farm and sell and get the money. I farm 3 months. Why do you want me to store for another 1 month to wait for the price to come to reality? So people will sell at a cheaper price just to get that money out of that. So this, I think, which we can definitely discuss. So another, because of time, we also look at the market, because good intention, unexpected consequences. People farm more, they grow more, where do they sell? So, for instance, in the community we are working, most people sell beside the road. Roads to Congo, roads to Malawi, and all that, and the movement is overnight. So on these markets, for instance, we said, why can people sell during the night? And then we come with this project on powering the markets using the street solar power light. Yeah, so because of time, we have some issues with adoption. One is actually limited awareness. We might think that these communities know what is solar, what is pump, and all that. These are relative new technology for them. So as partners, we need really to put more time and effort, for them to really get the concept. And then, as Maina said, we do not have so many successful evidences. We have 1 year project, 2 years project, 3 years project. It ends, and then everything also ends. But if we have a project that then run for a bit of longer time, makes a lot of issue. There was the issue of costs. A colleague somewhere said they have a cheaper solution. We will talk about that. But also that is very relative. If you have to compare the initial cost of investment between solar and maybe a diesel or petrol-powered pump. Yeah, and we are working on also other areas on mini-grid development, gender inclusivity, so we look forward to sharing with you and see how we can best partner. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So I have the duty of taking you through the last part of this presentation or panel. My name is Asan Ngombe, and I am the resilience specialist within AGRA. So we'll talk a little bit more about me later, but today we would like to, right now, would like to focus on what has been presented, but particularly to the farmer who is here. Yesterday we heard from one of the panelists, one of the sessions, who said we need to start seeing a change in the way AGRF looks, more farmers. And we're lucky that we have Mogendi here. So Mogendi, a quick question to you. Would like to hear some of the reasons why you started taking up some of these practices. What are the benefits that are coming out of this nexus between regenerative agriculture and the regenerative energy? So why are you taking up these practices?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank our Almighty God for the gift of the life that He has given each one of us who is present here. My names are Samson Mogendi, a farmer from Iringa. One of the benefits that I'm getting from these systems that were installed by Eliko Foundation is that I am capable of doing my agricultural activities throughout the year, during rain season as well as during dry season. Because these systems that were installed in our village by the Eliko Foundations, which are run by the solar panels. Solar panels, you know, they are working as they get the light direct from the sun. They are able to operate these pumps to pump water into various tanks that are installed in our village. So this enabled me as a farmer to do my agricultural activities throughout the year, because I am planting horticultural crops like beans, onions, and carrots, which always takes only 3 months. Then from there I harvest. That is the first thing. Another benefit that I've been getting from these Eliko Foundation innovations is that they are cheap to use. Compared, if I could go direct to the market, I buy a generator there which uses fuels. As you know, fuel is a big crisis. The prices are rising every day. So I could not afford to fuel my generator every day and pump the water to irrigate my crops. But these systems enables me to do this regularly. As I visit my garden, if there is need of water, I irrigate my plants. Together with my fellow farmers, because we have a group of almost 20 farmers. We are united together and we're working together. And we have a timetable. Who should water his or her garden and when. So the timetable is really guiding us. So we don't take much time to irrigate our crops. Just like after 2 days, I do it. After 1 day, I do it. So you see, this one is very simple to use and a little cheap. Of course, installing them is very expensive, but coming to me as a farmer to use them, to me, they are very cheap. Another benefit that we are getting from these systems is that we are able to supply food to the market. In a way that, you see, we do farming. After every 3 months, we harvest and we sell. So people are ready to get food every time. Not that we are doing all at once and we harvest at once. No, we have rotation. So each and every time, there are produces from our gardens. So that's another thing that there is a supply. People are getting food because, you know, food is one of the basic needs of human life. Without food, you cannot survive. So the systems has enabled us to do this and ensure that there is a supply of food to the market. Thank you. That's all I have about this.
That's very interesting, the experiences you have, how you've managed to maintain your farming. But in the process, there must have been some challenges,
Yes.
some difficulties. What are those difficulties that you experienced within this particular aspect? What are the difficulties of your fellow farmers?
Okay.
What can you advise us? What is it that we can do to do the work better?
Of course, there are some challenges that we are facing. One of the challenges is that we have agrochemicals. The prices, for example, the fertilizers, the prices are very high. They are really expensive. Of course, as you know, in our country, Tanzania, right now, the government is giving us some subsidies on the fertilizers, but still our farmers, they would like to get an organization which can offer them some loans so that they can be able to buy all these fertilizers and agrochemicals, the chemicals that they are needed, like pesticides and insecticides, because during dry season, during farming activities, we have so many insects that if we don't have these chemicals like pesticides and insecticides, these insects can easily come and destroy our agricultural crops. So that is one of the challenges that we are facing, that if there's anybody, if there's an organization that can come behind Eliko Foundation, supports them and give us the loans, which we can be paying maybe at least at the end of our harvest. That could be good thing for us as farmers. This can make us to produce more. Another challenge that we are facing is that when we produce our agricultural products, after harvesting, sometimes we find that the prices, for sure, they are not good. The prices are low, you see, and compared to what we have been using to produce, somehow it's very expensive. So you find that the prices are low. They are not even able to make me recover all the expenses that I've been using to bring up my crops in my garden. Therefore, if there is an organization that can support a Eliko Foundation to give us some loans, these loans can really help us to grow our crops, and we can repay back these loans after we harvest our crops. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samson, for that. I think the challenges you're facing are some of the things that we discussed earlier on around approaching farming as a food system. There's a lack of integrated approaches within the systems that they work in. But I think it's time for you to interact with the farmer and with Eliko. So I'll just ask for 2 questions from the audience. 2 pressing questions. There's a microphone coming for you. Come quickly. So we'll have the lady there, and we'll have Kickstart.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Priska, and I'm from the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition. It's very inspiring what your foundation is doing, but as an African, I always ask myself, and I try to challenge myself, once proof of concept has been tested, how can we deprojectize these initiatives? Because that's the only way we can get things to scale and to work. So that is, I would like to hear some thoughts from you on that. Because you said, the problem that we're having projects for 1 year, but they have served their purpose. They've gone to the community. It's shown to be proven it's working. We cannot, depend on projects forever. So thoughts from your side on that would be appreciated. Thank you.
The microphone can move up here.
Thank you. I think my question is very similar. I'm Martin from Kickstart. We also promote irrigation all across Africa. And irrigation, absolutely huge impacts, as we've heard here, because you grow crops in the off-season, you grow high-value crops, and you sell them when the price is high. But how many pumps has Eliko actually installed? I would be very interested to impact how many farmers. And then how much does that cost you to do that? And then the same question we just heard here, which is how scalable is this in terms of reaching millions of farmers which have to be reached? And so I think, we heard earlier that the price of even the lowest cost solar pumps is about $800, which is really out of the reach of the vast, vast majority of farmers in Africa. And yes, we can try to tackle financing, but financing is a whole nother issue, which is very, very difficult to tackle. And rural financing has not been done. So we really desperately need much, much cheaper solutions. The good thing with irrigation is farming is so profitable that with a very cheap solution, you can make enough money to afford to step up to a solar pump or other solutions. But we really have to start where farmers are, which is not affording things as nearly as expensive as this. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So maybe let me start with Samson again. The question is, after the project, what next? Will you be able to survive? How do we make this a practice rather than just a project?
Yeah, thank you for the question. After this project, for sure, I'll be able to survive because I am learning much from the project. What I'm learning from the project can really help and bring up my life and change. You see, people everywhere in our village, they are just looking farmers as people who lives in a very low life. But that is not true. If this agriculture is done scientifically and in a way that farmers can afford all the requirements that they need to grow and harvest, for sure their life can change. So I, as a farmer, I will stand, I will continue doing what I'm doing so that food supply system in the market can continue being there. Thank you.
And over to you, Sisti, as the last person to speak before for the next panel. How many pumps, how much, and probably also if you can touch on the issue of what next after projects, very quickly.
Yeah, so what next after the project? I think that should be the main question for me. We are building evidences. You know, that's what we are doing. We are building evidences that this is working. We are documenting it. And I think there are other stakeholders that need to take this out. We have been working with companies and the small microfinance to see the possibility. I'll give you one case. We took a bunch of guys from commercial banks and a microfinance institution. We went with them into to the project. And they said, you know, there's an opportunity here of you to either give loans, equipment loans, or partner with equipment loan companies. You know, on the bus when we are coming back to Dar es Salaam, you know, one guy said, you know, Sisti, we would have liked to do that, but the scale is very small. That is one. But secondly, we do not really have the expertise because we think the risk is much higher, you know. And then the third thing is, you know, for a bank to give you a loan, to give someone a loan, they'll need data of his profit making and all that. Of course, they will need to also know the risk around that. And also they need to have collateral because most loans are based on collateral. And most people in rural areas, they will not put collateral in terms of their land or their house because they've seen a lot of issues with climate change, for instance, a lot of crop failure and all that. So, and as I said, this is still a new, you know, we are talking about solar-powered pump, and it's not a 50 years kind of innovation. So people really need to learn, and as partners, we need to partner to build all these evidences. And then the government, why did we have now a committee, we went to the parliament and say, look, you need to subsidize these pumps. You know, you need to subsidize this pump. Otherwise, people won't be able to buy them. A pump, a petrol-powered pump, you know, a complete pump, costs something around 250 to 300 USD. A complete diesel pump. The equivalent in terms of horsepower of a solar might be 3 to 4 times. And that's the reality, you know. So without intervention of other partners, it will take a bit of time. We work with them, and the other thing is we have the technology, which is much better, a bit newer to them. A diesel or petrol power pump can be serviced by a motorbike repair personnel because the same pump is the same engine, you know. But, you know, we are working with now, let's say, with Don Bosco, for instance, you know, saying, you know, you need to start teaching courses on renewable energy, and we partner with them so that we also have small enterprises coming from these localities that you can resupply that. Now, how many pumps we have installed? We have the bigger ones. We have installed 8 of them on those regions we are working. The small one, the movable one, we have 26 of them. And then in terms of the cost, as I said, it was funded by Charles Stewart Mott Foundation, not on this particular project only, because we also work on health, and we also work on mini-grid for communities. So the budget was around 500,000 per 2 years.
So thank you so much. We'd like to give a big round of applause to our panelists. You will have an opportunity to speak with them during the rest of the conference, but it's really important that we hear from the farmers.